everything's on there. You know, went through and scratched all that up. Got all those top panels. Let me take it off here. Done up here too. Misted it with a white from afar. Painted those in with that olive green. And then this is going to get hit with a little bit of a black to work like a vent, because that's what that's supposed to be. And then there too. Then I had to add some of the little bit of white back. So I used that pale gray, dabbed some Scotch-Brite into it, and then dabbed some areas, especially here on the filming miniature. You can see some of it poking through there, and just to pull some more of the light color back into it. This is almost looks black. It probably does on the camera, but it's a dark green. Not as dark as this, but it's close. Excuse me. I'm coming down with a cold, I think. So, and I just stuck the guns on there. And then there's the bottom. And that'll be covered up to there when it sits down in that. All right. I went and did a clear coat on these guys to get them sealed. Get these decals sealed down. And I can touch them and not worry about anything scratching or rubbing off. Did the same with this because I did the decals on these vents. But I'm thinking I should probably get these drilled out. And then we need to really start doing a wash on here. I really should get a center hole because everything, you know, drill bits, they like to crawl. So, what I'm doing there is I'm gluing a block that I can put a hole in, and then the post will just go into that. This ship doesn't really weigh much, so the post can go into that. And I'll use a little brass piece to go in there. And then out here, I'll just have like something I'll print up going to the base. That's what I'm thinking. So let's get a center hole here. Because these engines get attached to this, so we'll just have the bulb sticking out through the bottom, you know, poking through. We'll have them just sticking through from here, because I think they actually get attached here, because the back plate gets attached this way. So yeah, and then their wires will be up here. We'll have our wires come in and go to here, and then probably to the main bar engine just in this area. There's one. Two. There's three. While we're at three, let's see. Nope, just needs that one last little oomph. That went through good. It's usually good to come through the other side. Now they actually go this. They're actually going to go this way, and they'll stick through, and then these engines will go there, and then the back plate goes on top. But we got to make sure these are fairly low, so I might actually even have to space them. With a spacer, which I'm just now realizing because they're going to stick up way too high. And even if I just, which I plan on cutting the top off a little bit, it's still, I see the actual diodes is above. It needs to be a whole nother lot, a lot. I think I can get like 2 mils of piece of plastic in there to pull this down. All right, if I cut this in half, doesn't need to be pretty. Well, we got plenty of room in here because this all goes up. It's all empty in there. Let's do that, and then just keep it between those little pegs, holes where the engine pegs will pop through. It says it just needs to be quick and dirty. And a little more. All this is for height. Now we just let that dry, and then we can bore through again. And hopefully that'll work. Well, I guess we could tackle this part, or we just go and jump into the weather. And that way I can get that closed, this sprayed up. I don't know. Not going to make much of a difference right now. I need to get some electronics going. Well, hello everyone. We're going to do some vacuum forming today. These are 2 little engines from the SLAVE-1 Revell. So we are going to replicate these in a clear, hopefully. This is my first time using this, so we'll see. I'm worried about this being a thermoplastic, it being an issue. I mean, this is a thermoplastic too, but I don't know. We'll try. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going to have to do these out of resin and build them like this flat out of resin, and then actually have them do it that way. But if it would work on filament, that'd be great. Maybe I gotta get like a high temperature filament that's a little higher than this styrene. Maybe it's gonna cool down fast enough that we won't have an issue. We'll find out. So we'll do it on this little piece here, and I think I got enough space in here. Put that there, and put these 2 back here. Or should we do? Yeah, not sure. So those are going to want to go around like that. We'll put those like that. We'll see what happens. They're not very high, so. And I'm using a thin. This is an O. Is it a 1010? I'm not sure. Yeah, this is an 010, so it's fairly thin. But with vacuum forming, these are a little dental vacuum former. They're great. They're like for a little bit over $100. And if you're just doing like windows and engine parts that you want to replicate in vacuum form, this would work great. So basic, simple. You got your heater up here, which you can swivel out of your way. You do want to make sure you touch this because this will be hot. And it's made really well. You know, the old school tools that were made out of that like casted metal. That's what these are, and it's heavy, so it works really well. And then what you got here, this lifts your sheet of styrene, and you got that one, and you can go a little closer. I was watching Adam on his little one. He says that most, even his thicker styrene, this first notch is better than this one because this gets pretty hot. But basically, what you do, you pop this open. This is a 5x5, so you can fit a 5x5 piece of styrene in here. And all you have to do is do that, and that should be it. That's just gotta kind of hold it. Hopefully it's thick enough that it's not gonna fall out when it droops. Adam always says to let it droop as far as as deep as your part is. So if your part's, a centimeter deep, you might want to get it to droop that far. We'll see. We're going to have to experiment. But I guess there's nothing to it but to do it. This is my first time doing this one, so we'll see how it actually pulls. I should have heavy gloves in case you got to get in there. But the basic thing is we'll heat it up and get it up there. When it's ready, we'll swing this out of the way. We'll turn the heat, I think probably the best thing would be turn the heat off, swing this out of the way, and drop it and hit the vacuum. Let's see if I can remember to do all that in those steps. So let's turn the heat on. It's probably going to stink the first time here because there's probably oils. I'm feeling some heat. Let's get this down. Make sure we have something working here. Yeah, there's the oils burning off for the first time. I might have a smoke alarm go off. But let's get this going. Now I'm going to put it up on the first notch. It says maybe a minute, and that might be because it's warming up. It's not a mega fast. But you just keep an eye on down here. Now she's really stoking as far as heat. The smoke is, the oils. And that's just oils, new parts have oils, especially on heaters. Even your electric baseboard heaters, the first time you turn them on, sometimes even the first time you turn them on per year, that's just the dust. But when they're brand new, when I did electrical, the first time we turned on electric baseboard, you would smell the oil burning off all those little fins. Now I'm seeing a glow. That's still pretty cool. I mean, that's a big chunk of cast iron. Oh, so this is actually not wire. This is actually a big metal rod going like, doing little S turns, which is nice. Usually they're like a wire. Okay, it's starting to, and what it'll do is as it heats up, it'll raise because the bottom's still a little cooler. And now it just did a little bunk, and then it should start drooping. Yeah, it gets warm under there. It's still a little stiff. Ah, and this is why I was worried. It might be a little too thin. Like I might have to put a gasket here to hold it because as she's trying to grow up and down, it popped. So there's our first little weird wall art. That's kind of what I was worried because I could smooth the piece in and out. I'm wondering if I cut it a little bigger and let the edges hang out. You know what I mean? That might be the better way to deal with this. Now, how much bigger is this? I mean, we might want to do something like that. Maybe go this way. I mean, I don't know. I think that's the way to go. So if it wants to move or droop or pull any which way it wants to, it's pinched in there. Because now I can. All right, so let's try it again. And lift her up one notch. It might be, it looks like they want you to fit them right in there, but that might be for thicker styrene. This is really thin, so maybe the 015 might. We should start seeing it get spongy and still a little stiff. Well, it's time to lubricate the Y axis on the bamboo. Now yeah, it's getting soft now. But we should start seeing it droop a little bit. I really want to get a good droop. Probably doesn't need to do it too much. You don't want to burn it. I'm not seeing it falling down yet. Might not give me as much visual than like a big one. Yeah, that's pretty soft. So I'm gonna give it a try. Turn that off, swing that out, drop this. All right, sorry about the phone call, but yeah, it popped right out. Like I said, this is probably too thin for what I want to do mostly, but we did get a good pull. I think we got a blowout there. So I might actually have to move up to the bigger size, but we got the definition and detail big time. You can see it. And on this here, yeah, we're seeing all the ridges, especially with this thin of but I don't think did it melt or warp? Yeah, it did. It melted and warped that a little bit. But the styrene pieces are fine. I think so. They always have that little dimple there, yeah. Yeah, so they worked fine. But I wonder how it would, because this is, I think, going to be a little too thin. So let's try the thicker, and we're not going to go with that. Let's try a thicker piece. That's the thickest I have. It's hard to find clear in really thick pieces. I'm having to find. This is the 015, which is 0.4 millimeters. Let's see if we can get any better with this. Is that the shorter way? Yeah, I'd rather have it. That seems to be the best way. Now this might take a little longer. Whoop. It'll help if we get our pieces in there. I'll just do that. All right, swing some heat over. Is that moisture? Not sure what that is. All right, heat's going. Also want to look at PETG too. It's a little more impact resistant. I think as far as my temperature, for the length I let it go, we were doing good. Now this might react a little different. We might get a little more movement. I'm gonna tell that later. So at least good to know. But yeah, that's more like packaging thickness, like, you know. I hope that doesn't cause a flaw. That might be a hole in the styrene and it's going to grow. Yeah, it might have been a little tear or something, defect in it. But as long as it's away from my buck. Yeah, see, it gets hot down here too. Starting to get a little wubby. Are we starting to droop any at all? It's starting to get, you know. Maybe the hair longer. Not by much. All right, I'm going to say we're going to go for it. Turn off, swing over, drop down. Well, I'm going to say that it looked like it did pretty good, but it did dimple in those pieces. Thicker plastic probably had more temperature. Now these are coming out pretty easy. I can just pretty much go like that and they're popping out. Did that tear? Of course it did. It's melting to the other plastic. That's the problem. Yeah, so using plastic parts is not going to work. So, but I think it's going to work fine for flat windows. And we're definitely going to have to do resin or make pucks. You know what I mean? That's because most of the stuff that they do with these is made out of a puck, which could be a wood or wren shape, which is an engineering resin that they like to use because it gives you no grain no matter where you cut it, so it's always smooth. So you get that nice smooth pull. Here, I probably would have had to put something underneath it to keep it from dropping. I don't know if maybe these beads might have helped, because you put those in there, and then that, as it sucked down, it would have had some beads behind it to keep it from collapsing. That's a question, because I know they use these for dental things, and you know, for parts that go around your gums. This kind of gives it a level ball field. No pun intended. But that's probably what those are for. So if you have like a little bit of a hollow, you can get it to set into those balls, and it keeps them from dropping from the weight of the vacuum. But hey, I got to use it for the first time. That told me a lot. A little minor cost of a couple sheets of styrene, which I have more coming. But I think for this, I am just going to 3D print a clear part. But hey, not too bad. It's working good. That's okay. But that made me understand that now trying to do plastic parts, nope. Can't copy plastic. I probably could have got these if we had, like I said, if I would have probably put these in there, that probably would have made all the difference. Now, does this get warm? It's okay warm. This is warm. Just don't want to put those balls back in there, but I'll let that cool off. But oh yeah, that gets hot, so definitely use that little handle, or you will burn yourself. It even tells you danger. But hey,
worth the try.
Alrighty, folks. Yeah, we tried with the vacuum forming, but that yeah made them collapse, and I think the part's too thin. So I just made these with a little exactly like that with a little lip. I made one little notch there. This one fit in just fine. And the nice thing is that pattern of a grid kind of gives it that light bulby kind of halogen thing they're trying to replicate here. So that'll work. And I made it a dome kind of thing too, like they did, and it actually worked out good. It fits in that pocket perfect. All I had to do is just notch out this one side. So let's see if this one will give me the same results. I just did a little notch on this side. I think I'm gonna keep these in a white. I don't know if I want to do a little bit of a yellow color tone. Like touch them up a little, the bulbs with yellow. Oh, and I got these in. They're glued in. Cut the ends off, the domes off. Hopefully that'll clear with these snapped in. Could actually snap these in now. But let's, first of all, we got to get them glued. Or are we having a little separation down the bottom? It's great up top, but it could be doing this. No, that's fine. And most of that's all going to be hidden. So we'll just take a little bit of this here. Give it a squeeze for a sec. And I think that'll be fine. Pretty good amount of light. And then all that you see going on there works as a good diffuser. And then, so we should be good. So what I want to do here, so now that's done. Yeah, see the power is going to come in through that back piece. It's going to come out of here. And then we can tuck it up and bring it through this hole. We can have it hit these cob lighting here and then send basically we'll Y off and Y into the cob and then send another power straight through to these guys. That way, if the cobs go out, it doesn't make these go out. I'd rather, if I can give things separate power, and since these are going to be in series, because this one's the flickering and this one is just a regular bulb, that way they'll flicker together. So at least I'll have these kind of flickering and these will stay steady. But what we can do here, what I like to do with these, since we got to bring power in, and instead of really running a jumper wire over, you can really just do that. Try to get this one to press in the other one. There we go. I should get this soldering gun a long time ago warming up. And then positive and negative. And it'll, since this one flickers, it'll actually send that flickering power to this one and make that one flicker. So that's a cool little trick. Now I know the cockpit, this part here in the cockpit will actually rest like that. Sits on there as like a block. So we got plenty of room back in this little compartment area. So that takes care of those guys. We just got to solder. I'm wondering if now while I'm waiting, we can get these engines clipped in. They look like they're going to be fun to snap in because this is a snap kit, which means everything's really tight. There it goes. It's all the way down. I can't really get my finger behind there because of the bulbs. There we go. I just want to make sure I have enough pressure. And there we go. And then this. I think it's easier to put this together with that doing that. Yep. That goes like that. What's catching? Oh, probably where these pop through. Yep. Just got to spread down my hair. There we go. Just want to see what it looks like and see what they. Oh yeah. And I like that they're not sticking out massively. I've seen some model kits where they're sitting out really far. Not bad. Now I wonder if I hit that with like some type of black back there, where you can kind of see in there. Not sure. Like I said, this looks a little more in the black, but it is a dark green. Trust me. It's just so dark it's black, kind of like this was too. But this really looks black. But this was the that, which I can see that looking black. But this was the just the dark green next to it, and it still came out really black. And you can see the green there, but you can see the green in like different lighting. I don't know if sometimes the camera lighting makes it a little easier to see the green in it. It almost looks like you sprayed a hue of green over top of black. But I'm going to go with it. I like it. It's my SLAVE-1. That's why the other one, the big 3D print, which is, I'm not even sure what scale it is, 1/34th, I want to say. It's because it's big. Here's just the tail section. Look how big that is. So that's going to be great. But I'm going to make this one my own. I think doing it in a silver grays. I think we'll do it in a like a silver. This will be like a darker silver to chip through. Not sure what I want to do this yet. I think I'm just going to do it the flat zinc, the non-metallic zinc, these parts. And then maybe do some of these panels here and some random panels in a brass to kind of pull that. I was almost thinking about doing this in a brass. Not sure. But I'm wondering if I paint this, because you see a little bit of it down. I go in and just hit it with a black or a dark metallic. It won't matter because we'll also be spraying some blacks and grays in here once it's all the ship's all together, because I got to do these panels here. You can see I hit them with a little bit of that green, that color there, just like I brought it in here a little bit. There's some red overspray, but that all gets covered. It's really only this one little outer rim that you're going to see. And then, like I said, we're going to spray in there with grays and blacks and weathering and stuff like that. And we can check and see how this works. And I got that right. We might as well even solder this right on. Got a good twist. All right. My arm. We'll just solder this real quick. And then we can do a test. Can't be on there. Actually, let's go with this. It don't matter. You on there? Are you on there? 28 volts. We want 9. At least closer. There we go. I'm going way over. Right, well, we can see it doing it from here. All right. Yeah. Those aren't too bad. It looks like the flickering one's a little more in the blue. But that works. Trying to get it to where it would stay. Hey, that's going to be cool. Yeah, I'm going to stay with the blue white. And these are going to be the cool white as well. Or did I go warm? I could have went warm. That would have gave us a little bit of yellow. Yeah. I could have done that. Still could do that, but I'm fine with the cool. Oh, alrighty. I have this all wired up and it's working really good. We did these earlier, and then I got the cob lighting in, which really went in really simple. You know, the hole I drilled it gave me enough to have it go down in. And on these cob lighting, you actually solder from underneath, so that worked good since it slid in. The segments of these cob lightings, you know, like even strip LED tape LED, you can cut it only in certain spots. Well, it was a hair longer. So what I did is drilled it thick enough so it could fit in, because there's an opening down in here inside this. I'll show you when we pull this apart, but I don't know if I want to try to pull it apart right now. Probably not, because everything's twisted together. So they're kind of going in and doing a little bit of it like this, and then since it solders off the bottom, it's great, and then the wires are not getting smushed against the wall. And we glued those down, and all I did is really just twist, and then I ran a wire from these guys down through that hole and just joined it with these, with the red and the black from these two engines down here. And then I just tied a little short jumper just so I could do a test, and we'll show you. It's looking really good, and it's not overly bright, which is nice. These big gator clips on these small wires, you got to kind of grab part of the insulation and then coil the wire around it to make contact, because otherwise it just doesn't do it. And we showed just those, but there is the other lights on, so that's nice. It's gonna look cool. It actually looks really good on camera because it washes out all that, so you can't even really see the segments. Now later we'll put a long wire. I have the A1 printing a base, so I designed a base for it. Just simplistic base. What's going to happen is, do I have it? One up here. I'm going to use this piece of brass post. That'll go in here too. One of these, a short one, will go into here, and then I'm going to design a little piece. I don't know if I want to design one where I can make it tilt the ship or just hold it in flight mode like this and just have it come out and then go straight down. I'm going to have a piece of brass pipe coming up from the base, and then I'll print a little plastic piece, and I can either make just a 90 and then have this part of pipe stick in and goes into here and it hollows so the wires can go through, or do I make it that piece, instead of a 90, make it so it can actually bend and I can actually have it in flight mode or have it down in that way. I think Bondi does that with their little 144, where you can tilt the ship back and forth. And I would like to do that. I just have never designed one of those things. Plus, I got to have probably these not touching. I probably would have to have, and you also have to have a hole come through. So that's always interesting. But that's what I'm thinking with the base. At the very least, it'll just have a 90 and go into there. But I like to be able to move the ship. I like to be able to, most of the time I probably have it in flying mode, but it'd be nice to have that hinge and I can do that. So that would be cool. But yeah, it's just the normal octagon. Of course, the post is more towards one end because it'll sit like this and the base will be here and it'll come up and then angle. It'll come up and angle over to it. And then I'll probably put a Fett symbol. See if I can get, there's a Fett, I think it's his house crest. Kind of got like a leaf, and do I have that still on this phone? Here it is. This is actual Boba Fett's. I guess it's his crest, his family crest or something. Yeah, that's kind of like almost like a. But I'll use this black and white. It'll work much better. Oh, they're saying that's no background, but as long as you have like a white, all white background, that's where things that can be black and white. Because then when I put this in here and it needs to make it kind of 3D or 2D, usually the black and white works great because then I can say the black can be raised, everything black raised, and anything that's white stays low. Or this, you get confused because now you have red, you have green. And that would work. But we were really at anything I need to show over here? No, it's just those connected. But I got a little primer on this, so I'm going to get starting to do this. But I also got to figure out, okay, when he flies, he's going to be. But then that actually falls down, so he sits like this. So I think if I drill a hole here and put a little SMD, I can get a little bit of a lighting going on here. I think if I get a little light right there, there's a little spot right there I could probably put it. Right in there. And just give him a little bit of a light. And I might make that a warm white. Just to, make it look like an interior light. But I'm going to go spray the gray. I'm using I'm using this non-metallic zinc. I like that. It's a pretty neat gray. And then we'll go in and detail all back in here. Probably use the gunmetal on these piping. They just say to use black. And then I'll hit some maybe natural oily steel on parts that I want kind of silver. And I think these I'm going to do in a green because I noticed on the in my book from Lauren Pearson's, if you look at inside the cockpit, yeah, you see a lot of his padding, and I mean this is nowhere near what it looks like in the actual model. But all the paneling and stuff where there's like I don't know what you call those, but they were green, so I'll pull that idea in, and we'll go from there. Because then we're really close with this. It's just getting really this in, these on, hitting a wash. Did I hit this with a clear? No, because it's nowhere near. Yeah, that's still dull. I mean, I hit it with a clear, but I'm not sure if I used the satin. Yeah, maybe I did, because that is a little on the shiny side. But I'm going to get to the spray booth because I think I already have this mixed up. It's probably drying up in my gun. Um, and get these coated, and then we can get the decals on here. Just wondering if I just leave that part black. It kind of looks cool black. Black with a gray background. Well, all right. I did some painting on the cockpit and actually did the trim area. I also did a wash on this and hit it with a satin so I could actually take the tape off the masking off the window. But it came out all right. It was a little harder to rub off than I was hoping, but that's all right. But yeah, and the wash helped blend like the different greens there. So now it's more just kind of catching your eye. Same thing with the little detail back there. It's not so when that paint was must have been like a gloss that olive green from what is that Master Model Masters? Yeah, yeah. So I had to go in and then just hand brush the sill. Kind of about there stays open, but yeah. So I kind of went in a brush and did that, and I did that in that zinc, and we can actually pull the cockpit out because they're not. He's just stuck in there. But yeah, so and then even under inside here, you have to hit a little bit, of course, on the back because you kind of see it where these meet. But that's that. So that's looking so much better with the window on. But here is Mr. Fett in his cockpit. We can zoom in here. I did the bigger pipes in a gunmetal and the skinnier ones in a oily steel from Vallejo. It's kind of hard to tell there, but there you go. You can see the gunmetal ones are darker. And then did some of those panels in the back in a green because that seems like what they did. They used a darker gray, I think. Yeah, but so it's almost hard to see the green that they did. That's actually in the model. Plus, there's a lot more panels and compartments on the sides on the actual miniature. And then we hit those down in there if I can get some light on it. I don't. Do I have this glued in? He's still wobbly. I don't think I glued. No, I didn't. Perfect. There. Now we can see everything. I want to hit. There's two square knobs there. I want to hit it with like a white and a blue, a real bright blue. So, but I don't know if you can see any light coming through, but I drilled a little hole right there. You can see it when it's right in there. I drilled a hole, so I'm thinking about putting a SMD and just putting it right there, just to have something glowing down on him a little bit. And here's the control area. Nothing fancy. Painted Fett all up. Not the greatest sculpt, or I should say casting, but he is tiny. Could be worse. He could be the big ape guys that are in the snow speeder. And then I dabbed him with a little wash, and since I used that, did I use the olive green, or I think I used this? Yeah, for him, and it kind of has a sheen to it, so that'll work. They didn't do anything special in the actual filming miniature. You don't really ever see them. I think that plastic is just very rubbery. So he's bouncing. So once we do that, I can glue him in, and then we'll just have the wires come back. It'll actually sit when it sits down. It'll actually come down like this. So I'll just circle it back and do the positive to here and the negative to here. Oh, and in here I hit some tulip because you were getting a lot of light, leak from the back of the bulbs. And it would probably light this whole compartment up. And you probably, and I didn't want to risk seeing it through the sides here or anything weird like that. So we blacked them out. Even the little clips, light was sneaking around. So I hit those, and I hit the bottoms down here with tulip, and then I painted this black. So when that shows, yeah. So when this sits down, we just see dark back there. I don't know if I showed that I did all these little gray squares. Like I said, I hit some tulip around the bottoms of that and tulip around these areas where I saw light leaking through. I expected it from the bulbs, they always do. But the tulip works better than black paint because sometimes it takes several black coats of black paint to really light block when you're blocking an actual bulb itself. And here it'll just cure like a little gasket at the bottom of rockets, but you won't see it anyway once that's put on. And hitting this with black makes it, like I said, again, dark down in there. So this piece is pretty much, besides I might weather this before we put this down. And I think I'm even going to do a wash on this before we attach this whole thing together, because I'm not going to put this on right away. And so that way I can get a wash all up and underneath it and on the other side of it. I think that would be smart. And just trying to get in all these nooks and crannies to clean and to get into here once it's shaded by all this, it's going to be tough. So I think that would be easier. All right, so I think if we, I might have to use my glasses. Oh, we got it. The fun part is to get it to lay the way I want it to. So I think we're just going to put a little, at the very end, just put a little bend up. That'll work. I think I'm going to use some Solar Res, because it's small and it's clear. And it seems to be working really good, and it'll instantly cure with the light. So I think I've just put a tiny dab right there. There we go. If it stays right there, that would be beautiful. Oh, that's nice. I'll put a little here, more here. Let's get a little stability. I think we should be able to take this coin battery and see what it looks like. There we go. That's more than enough. That's perfect. It's like a little light fixture in the ceiling. It'll be mostly covered because it goes behind this little shield that comes up. So that's perfect. And like I said, it not being overly bright, I think it's going to work. So now we can put Mr. Fett in here. Actually, I'd like to see it with Mr. Fett on there. Oh, yeah. And of course, you're getting an extreme wash, but that'll work. I remember dry fitting you, you were being kind of tough. So there might be some edges that are a little funky. All right, let's see how you fit, Boba. There, you just gotta kind of. Hey, up in there, Boba. I think we can come down and we can go up a little more on this side. Maybe not. That's it. Are we hitting the top? Yeah, around the end. That's tighter on that side than it is on this side. But you gotta be careful because I don't want to press on the windshield. Well, let's see what glue does. Oh, I got it down there way better now, but sometimes glue helps things move sometimes. Sometimes. This might be not the most perfect glue because it evaporates so fast. Let's see if that gives me a little more, like almost like a lubricant for a second. Yeah, a little bit. It's much better. We're gonna go with that. It's only like a millimeter different. That, then that again, that millimeter can come back and bite me in the butt. So I am completely happy with that. Just for giggles again. Oh yeah, that'll work perfect. And the only time you, like I said, you get really blinded is when that you turn that way. But when you're like that, let me get you guys up a little higher here. But you're mainly gonna see them flying like that. So that's perfect. And you can still see down the bottom where there would normally be other chairs. I'm surprised they just didn't give you the chairs for in there for other passengers. All right, to finish the base, and here's the bottom half. I got to take the supports out, and that's where the post will go in. But I can see a little bit of warping, and I think I tried a piece of tube, and it's a little tight. It's hard to tell what it's going to do. So I went at 6.5 millimeters for a quarter inch. I might have to jump it up to like 675 because I want it good tight because I don't want it, you know. All right, I hit everything with a wash. This has got a wash. We got that a wash. All those parts. So everything's got a wash. Um, Also printed the little 90 where the post is going to come up and then go into this and then go into the ship. So all that's ready. Also printed the Boba Fett symbol, and then I'll trim this green off out here and just only leave it in here. And will this fit is the question. Oh, yeah. So we'll have that, and then we'll put a little red in there and in there to make the F in the teardrop red. I think that F gets red as well. I'm not sure. I know that does. So that's great. There's all that. Already soldered. This is the little light. So already soldered that. So we're good to put this down, I think. So we can try to tuck all this stuff, I hope, back in there. This is going to be the fun pot because it's really hard to get that in there. I don't know if I do the front first or the back first. Here's the front. There. Oh, she latched in pretty nice. Now I can try the back. There's that side. Oh, both went in. That wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I think this one's still got it. There it goes. A little snap there. Oh, that looks good. That fits nice back there. So leaving that a little on the white side is kind of nice. It gives it a little difference, but the dirt, and then I took some of this green and misted it on it too. So that looks good. Now what we should do is do a test before we glue those tabs. All right, there's the engines. And there is the cockpit light. And we got engines, so we're good. All right, so what we'll do, drop some of this thin glue on these tabs. I can go away. We got a painted project. I usually like to sit down a mat at this point. There we go. Now I feel better because I really don't want to scratch this up. This will take it, but I don't want to scratch that dome up. So that's great. So what we got to do with this part, we can take these little jumpers off. These parts I actually soldered. These parts I actually soldered on, but these I just twisted on. All right. So I think I got to drill that out just a hair. These I think are fitting in. Yeah, I want a hair bigger. 6.75 is the deal. That's nice and tight. Get a pencil out. Already ready? So what we'll do, this light's going to be in the way. Well, let me look down there and make sure we're clear. Yep, that's great. There we go. All right, see there we have that like that, and then we can just take you. But we're going to kind of have to generic it. I'm going to go a little higher because once I cut it, I'm going to probably tap it down here. I think it can still go down a little bit more. So where's my line? There it is. Yeah, sure. Feel like we're almost there. We are. All right, yeah, and I might give it a little punk whack. Let's do it on the floor before I shake the whole table apart. There we go. You should slide right on there, right now. And you also got to have this here, so it's just for giggles. No, I actually like that height, so that works. Now that we have that established, now we can see how far forward I went. We want just a little stubby. I think I have one that'll work already. If I have you in that much. I might want it to come out a little more because I want it to go in the ship a little more. And I don't want it too close to the base. So I think I'm going to jet her out a little more. And I have it so she's kind of leaning. Yeah. Now we can actually get a length of wire. And the good thing is it comes right out and only has to go to there. Is that enough for it to go in and get into the ship? I think that's more than enough. So really, that's all we need because it's only just jumping right to there. Really what we should be doing is running it backwards. But at least we got our length now. Twist these together so they don't keep springing all over the place. We got to get it through here first. Positive? Or negative? Get rid of all this extra. Whoop, turn that back on. So usually what happens, I realize I missed something when the iron cools down. I don't know if we still have heat. Yeah. And negative to negative. That was that. So we're ready to glue you down. So we're gonna put some of this glue on these pegs. Just those, right? And that should really hold this whole thing together because the rest of it floats anywho. Again, we're gonna spread you guys. There we go. Hearing and feeling snaps, so that's good. Yep. All right. Uh-oh. Abort. Yeah, this is always the fun part because you have nowhere to pry. We might have damn. I forgot about spinning. There, I can get that one by. There we go. Yeah, I can get them by. Always forget about these guys. There we go. Everybody pass unscathed. Yep. And we'll give everything a squeeze again. Usually it doesn't even let you get it down. Sweet. There. Good thing I noticed that. It looked a little higher up there than it did everywhere else. Very good. All right, I think we avoided that issue. There we go. Now we got the dish on there. Sweet. Well, that's pretty much it. The ship's built, but these guns, and I know I kind of want to. Scrape off some extra paint. There, now will these fit on a little smoother? Now there's a little stop on this one side, so I think this one goes in between that. Yep. And this one kind of just does its own thing. There they go. So that they only can go that far, and they can only go that far. Really, all you have to do is turn one, and they both go. So that's nice. All right, they're on there. I might not even glue them on there just in case, because they're staying on there pretty snug. I can actually stick you on there. Now this is going to be the fun part because we got to get you down that hole, and if you go straight down, you should go right in that hole. Oh, look at that. There it is. Yay! There we go. And what will happen is we'll have this down here. Minus these here. I'll just trim this off and around the leaf there. Probably should glue it somewhere. I'm wondering if I should glue it to the ship and then leave it spin in this piece. Yeah, we'll figure it out. That's cool. But again, let's strip these. We can actually stick it out this hole. I'll put the jack in later. And do a test. All right, I guess we could start hitting this base here with some rub and buff. And we can glue the Boba Fett symbol down. Shouldn't need too much. Cycle already. How I want to do this, just random. Ooh, don't need that much. I'll spin you out of the way, but I gotta hold it because it gets. Try to get these scratches going different directions. And most of this top's gonna be covered by the Boba Fett symbol, so. I think I gotta have enough. Might need a little more rub and buff. And you spin back over like that. There we go. Yeah, it's still hard for you all to see because the way the light is. And I think my hands aren't so full of rub and buff here. And then we'll just epoxy this. Like that. Now this I just painted in green and white. So what I did is only did the green up to like the layer 6. And then I looking in preview and seeing where it was going to start building all these raised areas. And then I switched it to white. It's that simple. You can actually do where it changes colors in layer heights. So that's how I did that. That way I have the green bottom, on here, and then the white, and then I just had to hand paint the red in. I should get my solder gun ready. We got to get this jack in, and that's it. And then Boba Fett SLAVE-1 is, I'm going to say, done. I may go in there and take some, I need to clean that window, and I might take some silver pastels and hit some of these edges. All in all, when we come back for, and I'll do all that when I do the full on reveal and spin this around and have it lit. But we gotta wait for this soldering iron to get hot. Doesn't take terribly long, but still. I don't know if I can. I want to wash my hands too here. Okay, let's see. I stripped, looped, got the jack in there tight. So all I have to do is just hit a little solder on these 2 points. There's our negative. And there, I believe, it's hard to see because everything's under a lip. Yep, there's our positive. That's it. Put these guns back up. I mean, it even looks good like that, but I definitely like the having the symbol there. We're just going to do it by eye. We do that, I think that works perfect. Let's do this. Just give it a press. Because this doesn't have to dry fast. And if I want to wiggle and move a little bit, that's fine. And it's such a big flat piece. But hey, I'm liking that. Looks like we might want to go up that way a little. Because these guys stick out the same, so if you kind of match those, you're in there. I like that. And I like that I can give it a tilt and there we'll just leave it. I didn't bother with a switch for this. Such small ship, it's not like I need switches for all that. And then I still want to go in here and hit some grays and some blacks along this wall, a little bit something rust or something around that dish. I'm going to look at the ILM. There's some stuff that I just want to airbrush and some splooches, little streaks on those. But they went through in here with some gray and then some black. Alrighty. Went and did a couple things here. Did a little chipping on these yellow spots. Um, did some rust wash in some of these joints where I think it would collect some water and rust. Some areas here I diluted quite a bit. Did some yellow dab. I actually took a butterscotch, I think, or butter. What is it, butterscotch or what's this called? Buttermilk. It's a real light yellow, so I didn't want the yellow on my wings to be so bright and into the zone of this detail. And did we do anything in the back? I think we just did a couple little rust areas back here. Of course, continued it around here where that hinge is, a little bit up on the dish. Did black panel liner in these grills here. They wanted decals. I rather do the a little darker, but you can easily clean it off with a blade. Yep. But I went in with a panel liner just to darken those grills there, and then add a little rust and spots. But I think what we're gonna do now, do a little bit of black spraying, which we want to hit these areas, maybe a little bit in that area there, that grill, in here, a little bit around here. I did some panel ironing in those grids there on the dish, and then a little bit in areas around the outer rim, and then maybe get a couple little streaks on the wings, and that should be it. And maybe hit that with a little bit of black. I think we'll leave that alone, and that's about it. And then she's done. If you look here, you can see how dark they have those. They actually did this whole detail. I don't think I want to do the whole detail like that, just the little spots there. But yeah, they kind of made those whole details dark. I think well, and you can see they hit. Oh, we can do yeah, and that's those areas there I want to hit. Yeah, that's all I'm really seeing. Just little splotches, and like I see some streakings in those areas. So that's what we're gonna try for. Let's see how this works. Don't need a lot of it because we're just doing very light. Turn my pressure down so I'm not blasting. And let's start with this. Let's see if we can get a little. I mean a little. Come on. We got enough in there. I might need to add some thinner. Yeah. Now it's working. All right. This one to give, and it will come out more. On those areas like that. Like that. Go ahead and hit that there a little more. And just to dirty up the bottom of that. Well, all right. Here she is. Sorry about the little bit of last of the footage before. My camera's actual hard drive filled up and it shut off on me. I was assuming I had plenty of hard drive space. So, but I mean, you didn't really miss much. I mean, probably the little splooches I did on here, which I just lay a little piece of tape and go at an angle so you get a heavier mark. It's all over the Falcon. But so yeah, I did some of the striping on there and trying to think what else I did at that point. I was kind of working on the back. Really just finished up hitting all along inside there. Finished up on the dish. Yeah, I hit some of those little panels there, the front of the guns, to kind of give them more of a flat black, kind of like smoke soot. I hit that little detail there with a little bit of spray, kind of darken that. Yeah, and just kept making areas on here a little darker and touching up. And then I went with a little Scotch Brite if it gets too dark because I didn't seal it yet. I just scraped it with a little Scotch Brite so you get those little nicks and scrapes like that. But I like it. She is done. Oh, and another thing, when I went to power it up to do this reveal, this cob lighting here, I've been lighting it for a while prior to this. Every once in a while, I'd have to give it a little, and it would come on. Well, doing the washes and stuff, I don't know if that, whatever for what not, the wires broke back here. Well, one broke, and I couldn't get them to pull out. One was still attached when I ripped this up, and I couldn't get the other to pull out. I have them twisted in there. I should have left them loose so I could pull them out. Because otherwise, it would have been simple. Just pull the wires out and resolder. That's kind of how I should have made it. And so I just disconnected the negative and tucked it back in there and had to run little jumpers from this one. But being it's an LED strip, it's going to have contacts on both sides. And what I think here is these cob lighting, the brass contacts to solder wire to are on the bottom, on the sticky side. Not like your normal strip tape where it's up top and your sticky side's on the bottom. You actually solder the wires to the bottom. So I just had these real thin SMD wires. That's why I always keep what I cut off. So they're real thin and tiny, and I just soldered and just did a loop to the two. You can't even barely see them. If I go and touch them up with something, it would hide them even more. But it kind of, it's Star Wars, so yeah, you won't even see it. So that's even great. There you can kind of, so I have a pointer. You can kind of see the black wire loop in between them. But for the most part, it's all right. And not much you can do. There's no way to pop this hole back off again. Yeah. And since there was terminals sitting right here where I could get power, it just made sense to jumper it. And like I said, once you turn it on, you don't see it. The base came out great. I cannot complain. You can turn it like this, but this it does this one here needs a little because of how tight it hits there. But the other nice thing is I can swivel it, and I can even give her an attack kind of vibe. But I'm happy with this. So let's plug her in. This was a nice kit, quick. I mean, this is a Revell. It looks like pretty much the same one they've been building for a while. They just put a new box in it. They have a 40th anniversary, and this is the going off, I think, the Book of Boba Fett, because they call it Boba Fett Starship. It's SLAVE-1. All right, here we go. Maybe I'll turn off. Let's see if I can get a little bit of low lighting from the. I don't need to be in complete blackness. Yeah, that helps a little bit.
But that light works good in the cockpit. It's making me want to put one in the big one. I don't know where I'm going to put ones in the big one unless I just make a spot. But yeah, that looks good. And to show that I fixed the engines, there we go. And they're not this bright. That's for sure. Yeah, it's not adjusting it, but yeah, it's it's trying. But yeah, they're not this bright in person. Like in person, you can see the segment difference. Where in the camera, it looks like one big bar. But these are flickering still nice. The clear plastic parts worked great. The grid on them gives it that kind of old halogen look. So there she is. Get her out here where I can spin her where the wire doesn't stick. I'll turn the light back on here so you can see more of it. But that is Revell's 188th Slave-1. Very nice kit. I had a gentleman asking me about the difference between the fine molds and I'm going to be honest. I mean, I don't have the fine molds in front of me. I only had to look online to see what its parts counts. It basically looks like it's the same kit, except for they have these parts here. You actually have to put on. Even the detail, which I added more, even the detail in this looked the same. Again, I'm looking at pictures that I can't really zoom, and then when you do zoom, they get really blurry. Oh, one thing I can definitely tell you that I have more detail or more accuracy in the detail is the cockpit area, because it does have the chairs down here, and it looks like everything's set up more. I shouldn't say like the filming miniature, because the filming miniature is totally different from what you see on the sets. Like if they ever show a set of Boba Fett and his ship, it don't look. The filming miniature looks nothing like that. Let me show you. I can show you with the big one, because the big one is like what you see in the more accurate Boba Fett ships. Here's my 134th Slave-1. I probably should get you out of here because this is a lot of stuff on one table. Yeah, this is my 134th Slave-1 I'm building from Gam Bodies. I'm going to do this one up. I'll do a small build series, just more or less just updates. I do have an update on putting these parts together, but I'm not gonna, do a build series where I'm actually going through and doing the parts. Right now, I got to go through and sand and then fill in seams. This is a good one here because it was hard to get this whole back half to snap into this whole top front half, because there's a lot of clips. They use these clips, which is brilliant, but when you get a lot of them, it's hard. They use these clips and they'll have notches in their parts. Yeah, see, here's their parts. See these little notches? You actually push these clips in, they'll snap in. I'll use my little a tool and push them in. They'll snap in, and then the other part can snap in. They could pretty much hold together with just these clips, but then I use epoxy. But these clips help align and really hold it tight. You don't even really have to tape things tight. But as you can see here, this is what they consider the accurate cockpit in a sense, as far as there being 3 chairs up here, Boba Fett's, and 2 behind it, and then there's 2 back here with those little posts that hold up this. And this background, I'm guessing that's probably in one of the set designs. So I'm guessing this is what they're considering canon, or this is close. But like I said, I've seen, there was a really beautiful replica for like $1,800 on eBay of a smaller version, not of this size. It might be a little bit bigger than the the Revell one I just built. So she might be bigger than that. But if you look at the actual the filming miniature looks nothing like that. And like I said, you never see anyway. So they like, yeah. So like I was saying, the one scene you see it is flying after Han Solo. So you really only see the back part when it goes and the Falcon's going away, and then you see him dialing up stuff as he's following Solo. And like I said, it's a pretty much a headshot from like the back right, so you never see the interior. You're just seeing the back and side of his head, and out the window where you can see the Falcon going off on the left. And then you see this scene. Once Han's frozen, you just see it like that, and maybe taking off. You know, when they're trying to stop Fett from getting away, and that's it. I can't remember Return of the Jedi if you ever see it, because Boba Fett's already at the Jabba's palace. So, and from that point, he never. Well, he gets eaten by the Sarlacc pit, and that's it. The ship's left in that hangar bay, so you never see it again. So this to see the filming miniatures interior. Here's the filming miniatures interior, the actual filming miniatures interior. Now you still have that round cockpit area. Like I said, there's a lot more panels and some piping, and then there's that scope. I think that's what he's pulling up or down in Empire when he first sees Han taking off. But that looks nothing like any of what's out there in model kits. This is a nice replica from EFX, I think. Yeah, EFX. I don't know if you can see what type of cockpit. That was on Tested. I don't know if you can see what cockpit is in that too much. That actually looks more accurate to the actual filming miniature. But they probably studied the filming miniature. Yeah, that is like accurate to the filming miniature. Let's see, this guy's here. He's got a lot of cool studio scale stuff. It's got the 2 seats and the 3 up there, but they're different. Everyone I think is going to be different. Like there's the 2 fine molds, SLAVE-1s and Jango Fett. Now one thing I'm seeing, yeah, like the detail, because I think you glue those on, so those details are going to be nicer for sure. They have the right end caps, but it's not exactly correct on the wings. And that's just because of the smallness of the scale. So that's correct. Close enough, way closer than probably MPC and definitely Revell. Here it does show that that detail looks better. That's correct. So the detail on the arm is correct, where MPC and or Revell, and I'm sure MPC did the same thing. They just put a little hump there, no real detail to it. So that's probably all good. And the interior, but other than that, I mean, there's not much to the ship to make it different. Like I said, Django's does have that where this opens here for some type of guns. I don't know, or there, or how that works, but they're pretty much identical except for minor but important detail. And if the interior is a big thing to you, then yeah, definitely the fine molds. But I think the price, and it is a little larger ship, 172nd compared to 188th. I don't know what MPC's was. But again, here it is. This is the Revell. It's still a great, great model kit. I think it builds up really nice, and I'm sure the MPC is probably pretty similar. You might have to do, like I said, you might have to do little detail adding things, like I added those to kind of give it something. You know, it's not canon, but at least it gives it something different than just 3 circular discs stacked on top of each other. But there we go. Till next time, I think I'm gonna start posting a video on the Jedi Starfighter. That's the little small one, not the Delta 7. And that's going to be my version. I didn't do like Luke or Anakin's was yellow, Obi-Wan's was that maroonish red. I did my own version. So, but I hope you enjoyed this series. This was fun doing this chipping at this massive degree for the first time. I think it came out good. I'm happy with it. This was not an expensive kit, so that makes it even all the better. But until next time, thanks for watching.